Welcome to this week's episode of Your Stock Request for the 3rd of May. Hi, I'm Michael Gable, Managing Director of Fairmont Equities. We've got 5 stocks today. I'm going to cover off on ARB, Telstra, Babbcore, DEG and EAI. So these are the requests that have been sent through. Make sure you send your request through for next week. Just email me at mail@fairmontequities.com and make sure you share this video on social media. There's also a general advice disclaimer. Anything I say is general only. So with ARB, I'll move to a weekly chart and we can see here over time it's been trending up fairly well and obviously it's had a fairly decent move in the last couple of days. What I've noticed is previously we had this high near $20 at the end of last year. Then it pulled back, tried to reclaim it, was rejected, but it managed to hang in there. And generally what we saw was I guess a congestion alongside this previous high, just under this previous high, which is good. So it's basically been getting rid of all the sellers and then it's popped higher. So we can see on the daily chart all the congestion, and then just in the last couple of days, or yesterday really, it's gapped up. So now that it's got rid of a lot of that selling, I think there will be further to run in ARB. I wouldn't necessarily want to pick it up at the end of such a big move. I think any sort of dip is a buying opportunity. So with Telstra at the moment, it looks like we might have a low in place here, so it's sort of fallen away, sort of managed to hang in there over April, and for the last couple of weeks it's traded fairly well and it's just taken out this high. So it looks like shorter term at least we're going to get a bit more of a move. If we have a look at a weekly chart going back the last few years, we can see that there's been a fairly decent movement down, unfortunately, in Telstra. So recent movement sort of pales in comparison. So it's too early to say whether this stock will head into an uptrend. There's some obvious resistance around 340. So I think in the short term, it'll try to run up into the dividend, which is in August. Bit of resistance at 340. We might just see it base build for a bit. But I think for the moment it looks like it's holding those lows. So with Babbcore, we can see that there's been some obvious resistance at $6 for over a year now. I've also noticed that during some recent sell-offs they have been fairly sharp, including notification around here that the CEO had sold I think about a third of his shares. So it's kept a lid on the share price, but what I've noticed over the last several weeks is it has managed to hang in there. So, you know, this could have sent the shares heading quite a bit lower, but it's encouraging to see it hang in there under that $6 mark. And basically what we now need to see is a break of this $6 level. I think it's too early to be buying it. I think if it breaks this level, can hold above it, because it's been testing it for over a year, we'll get some fairly decent upside. So this previous high near 650 is pretty close. I don't think it's, you know, it might only provide a couple of days worth of resistance, but I think movement through $6 is worth following, jumping back on board, and I think we could probably see some decent upside if that were to occur. The next stock, DEG, called De Grey Mining. It's hard to tell longer term what might happen here. Obviously, we could see that the chart's dominated by this huge run up about 6 months ago, but it's given up a lot of those gains. You know, this is a type of stock that could come all the way back to fill this gap here. It could just keep heading higher. It's really in the middle of no man's land. I'm not seeing anything in terms of volume indicators. That's just the way it is. Sometimes, you know, you can't have a strong opinion about something. So it looks fairly neutral. I think for the moment, at least in the short term, just looking at the way it's traded here in the last several weeks. So this is back to a daily chart. There's a decent move up here, a couple of higher highs. It seems to be making higher lows. So it looks like sort of shorter term, we could expect a bit more upside. Okay, and the final stock is EAI, which is Elliston Asia. So weekly chart, going back a couple of years, there's an obvious uptrend. Okay, that's great. Will it continue that uptrend? Funny sort of price action here. You've got this sort of price rejection from down low, but also a bit of selling. If I move to a daily chart, so we've essentially had this sideways movement, price rejection down here, but also when it tried to break, it got sold down and it struggled the last few days. So I'm fairly neutral on this. I think that obviously there's a range there, anyone can see that. Supports around these sorts of levels. I think if it breaks here and can hold, that's a positive. If it breaks under here, it can't recover, that's a negative. So at the moment it's fairly neutral, and as you could see, longer term there is an uptrend there, so hopefully it breaks in the direction of the trend, but we just need to be cautious for the time being. That's all for this week. As always, send in your requests, share the video on Facebook and Twitter, and we'll be back next week.